Of course, when they told us that Lenin, when he was young, he had ideas, but not anymore.
Here you go, Pelmany.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your meal.
Thank you very much. How's life here? How does it differ from Moscow?
Moscow isn't Russia. It's like a different country.
You want a homemade empanada, young man?
Empanada? What kind do you have? Any with cottage cheese?
Potato, cabbage, and rice with egg. Get on or the train will leave. Let's go.
Greetings from Moscow and welcome to a new video, this time from Kazan station. I'm heading to Ulyanovsk, although I don't know if I'll include it in the same video. The thing is, right now I'm going to take a train, a coupe train, not my beloved Platzkart that I'm used to, but a coupe, which are separate compartments, and I'm going to do it in a double-decker one. Also one of the most modern ones, a Fermini Poiest. Here it is, this is how it looks. The trip to Kazan takes about 12 hours. That's it. Let's stop talking and go inside. At the start of the 20th century, the increasingly industrialized and globalized world experienced wars, revolutions, scientific advances, and major social changes. After 2 centuries of industrial revolution, the proletariat has consolidated as a class in most industrialized countries. The terrible working conditions and the rise of big capital, personified by tycoons who were accumulating more and more money and power, created the perfect breeding ground for the spread of ideas that decades earlier, in 1848, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels had set out in their work, the Communist Manifesto. However, unlike what some of these thinkers had predicted, the first great revolution inspired by communist ideas did not take place in the industrialized bourgeois economies, but in the Russian Empire of the Tsars. The Russian Empire, which over the previous centuries had expanded through conquests and expeditions to become the largest country in the world, encompassed territories in Finland, Poland, Ukraine, the Caucasus, the Arctic, much of Central Asia, and even Alaska. The vastness of its domains and the wealth of resources found within made this empire the perfect candidate for a global hegemonic power. Other contemporary powers viewed this with suspicion. The Tsars and high nobility increasingly accumulated power and wealth. Meanwhile, inequality between urban proletarians and rural farmers was growing more pronounced. The defeat against Japan in 1905, along with entering World War I, which brought millions of deaths and famine, catalyzed a revolutionary process that would lead to the formation of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, more commonly known as the Soviet Union. In this video series, we will cross the Urals, traditionally considered the border between the Asian and European continents, in order to better understand the decline of the Tsars and the rise of communism. I will visit the city where Lenin, the revolution's main figure, grew up, and where the Bolsheviks ended the imperial family, sealing the nation's fate. I will visit the main industrial centers of the Urals and talk to their inhabitants, seeking to learn more closely what life is like in these places so distant and unknown to most of us. Hello? Seat 92.
92. Please go ahead.
That's fine, thank you. Hello?
Hello. I'm Esperanza, and my partner is Amor. Feel free to ask any questions.
Amor and Esperanza, great combo.
We will all make the journey with Amor and Esperanza.
Well, we've already set off a few minutes ago, and we're heading to Kazan. It's amazing, this is huge. I mean, for those who are used to my videos, you know I always travel in Platzkart. Platzkart is the open variant, so to speak, right? With 6 beds in open compartments. And these are closed compartments with 4 beds. So now I'm sharing a compartment with 2 grandmas and a guy. Platzkart is known as third class, while coupe is second class and usually costs more than Platzkart. Logically, although, well, I like to be with the heart of the people. Anyway, this one cost me 3,100 rubles, which is about 30-something euros. Here you already have the first floor, and up there is the second. Let's check out the dining car. Dining upstairs, bar downstairs. Well, here you have it, the little snack, a small salad, and the Kiev-style Russian steak, which, for those who don't know, is a Russian steak, but breaded and stuffed. It also has some butter inside and some vegetables. Personally, I love it.
Cheers.
It's hot. I couldn't resist and ordered myself a tea and a strudel. Let's see how it is. It's probably not the best pastry, but it looks good and gets the job done. It's really good.
Fresh vegetable salad, Kiev cutlet, bread, green tea, and strudel.
How much?
1,400 rubles.
All right, with the card, please. A technical stop at Vekovka. It smells like pine and forest. All right, I think after this stop I'm going to go to sleep, and tomorrow at 5 I'll be in Kazan.
Would you like a homemade empanada?
Empanada? What kinds do you have? Any with cottage cheese?
Potato, cabbage, and rice with egg.
No, thank you very much.
Get on or the train will leave without you.
Let's go.
I'm coming.
Buy from here if you want.
I have sausages too.
Naturally, the grandmas selling things were there. Goodbye, thank you. There goes the train. It's called the Italmas. Each train has a name if you're interested in taking one. I've already arrived in Kazan, and now I have about 3.5 hours of travel ahead to Ulyanovsk, the homeland where none other than Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov was born, also known as Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. Let's go. Look here. At the exit of this Kazan ELI station, I find something that I'm coming across more and more often. Throughout Russia, which is a monument dedicated to the city for its performance in World War I. In this case, it received the title of City of Labor Valor. Just like in Borkuta, which also played an essential role with its coal mines, bringing coal to the front, Kazan did the same with its factories. Kazan was declared City of Labor Valor in 2020. You can see different images of workers, laborers, students with the inscription, "All for the front, all for victory." Here, on a small plaque next to it, it says, among other things, that more than 600 types of weapons were produced. They also produced the PE-2, PE-8, and I-2 airplanes. Well, and a lot of other things too. In 1984, the city received the Order of Lenin. Well, that's it. 3 hours and a little more after leaving Kazan. Now I'm in Ulyanovsk. More precisely, at 1 Lenin Square, an impressive memorial here, which is a concert hall. I'm at Lenin Square, where Lenin was born. Across from this building is the house where he was born and lived there for years. Now I'll go see it. And there behind me is also the Volga River, the mighty Volga River. This is what Lenin Square looks like in the city where Lenin was born. Ulyanovsk used to be called Simbersk. What happened is that when Lenin died in 1924, they changed it to Ulyanovsk. His last name was Ulyanov before he changed it to Lenin. And here, right in Lenin Square, you have the Faculty of Pedagogy, if I'm not mistaken. Look, with the little children's train with Nu Pogodi. This is the wolf from Nu Pogodi, from a typical Soviet cartoon. And here, next to the university, there's a sign that says, "Real work for real men." Starting from almost 3.5 million in salary in the first year, 850,000 rubles as a one-time payment just for signing the contract, and from 210,000 rubles per month in salary. And here you have it. The Volga. This river is impressive. It looks like the entrance to the sea itself. These are the views Lenin had as a child when he played. Not bad, right? Nowadays, there's a park called the Friendship of People's Park. Precisely also in honor of those ideas that Lenin had about uniting all the peoples against the capital of the bourgeoisie. It has huge letters made of trimmed bushes that spell out Lenin, and they face directly toward the new city of Ulyanovsk. We're in the old city. The new city is over there. You can see thermal power plants, apartment buildings, even wind farms. You can see them back there in the distance. Ulyanovsk isn't small, with 600,000 residents. It's a large city. And how do you feel living where Lenin was born? Is it that important? What does that mean to you? No, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Why doesn't it mean anything anymore?
All of this happened. All of this. Like Lenin's euphoria, it's over now. It's over.
It's over now.
There was a time when we were young when they used to tell us about Lenin's ideas. His ideas were here, now they're gone.
Times have changed, haven't they? People don't talk about him as much as about the Soviet Union.
Not at all. No, people hardly talk about it.
It used to be more during the Soviet Union days.
Yes, they talked about him all the time.
They did something for his 100th birthday. When was that?
Yes, but that was a long time ago. It's been 50, 60 years since the anniversary. There's no such euphoria for Lenin. He's not remembered.
Young people don't remember him, right?
It's not that they don't remember him, it's that they don't even know him.
What do you mean? There are still Lenin tours?
But what do they do?
Yeah, well, so what?
They talk a little and that's it. As they say, it goes in one ear and out the other. I don't think so.
And you?
I don't know, that's just the feeling I get.
And do you think it would be important for that feeling about Lenin to come back? Would it be important for it to return?
For me, it's not that important for that feeling to come back. And that's already in the past.
All of this already happened.
We've already gone through this historical moment. And we don't like to go back to it. Because there were also some problems with Lenin and his ideas.
Yes, of course.
Was everything he did right? That's another question.
Yes. Now I'm heading to the house where Vladimir Ilyich Lenin lived during his early years. Look, if you see little girls dressed like that, it's because these are the first days of school here in Russia. That legacy from Soviet times is celebrated in a big way. On the first day of school, children bring flowers to their teachers. They dress up in formal clothes or uniforms, songs are sung, and there are other activities to welcome the new school year. Here it is, next to the concert hall, the house where Lenin lived, in what would be the courtyard or the surrounding streets. There are a lot of sculptures of pioneers. You can see them with the famous red scarf tied around their necks with flags. There, with animals playing the drum, playing instruments, saluting, marching. The pioneers, and before them the Octobrists. They were taught Lenin's ideas from a very young age. Look here, next to the house where he lived, now I'll show you a huge sculpture of Lenin. Young and very small, as a child with his mother. A significant figure with much preserved correspondence. It is confirmed that he maintained a very close relationship with him, even during exile, through correspondence. His mother educated him from a young age, until he entered high school at 9. Lenin was a brilliant student. Gold medal, the top award. Unlike what many might think, Lenin was raised in a wealthy, cultured family, not humble origins. His father, Ilya Ulyanov, was a physics and math professor in Simbirsk, serving as public school inspector and civil councillor, which gave him hereditary nobility. His mother, Maria Alexandrovna Blank, from St. Petersburg, was the daughter of an important Jewish surgeon who had converted to Orthodox Christianity. And according to some historians, with the inheritance she received, she acquired an 80-hectare farm near Samara, making her a landowner collecting rent from peasants, which her son Vladimir would oppose years later. His father's strictness and his mother's home education shaped young Vladimir's personality. A talented and intelligent child, he excelled in school, reflecting his hard-working and studious nature. However, the premature death of his father in 1886 and the execution of his older brother, Alexander, in 1887 for making bombs to carry out revolutionary activities, devastated the family and planted in him the seed of revolution. He was barely 16 years old. According to what the lady at the entrance told us, Vladimir was born in a wooden house that I couldn't visit because it was under renovation, but it still stands among the columns of the huge auditorium in Lenin Square. Since the family was very large, they moved to this other house just a few meters from the previous one, where they spent 4 years before moving again. Once inside the house museum, you could see various family photos, personal belongings, a chess set, and other toys from his childhood. This is what the first floor, the ground floor of the house where the Ulyanov family rented, looked like. They lived on the second floor, which they moved to after having Lenin, Vladimir. This floor was occupied by the owner of the house and by other people.
Were there 27,000 people before?
When the Ulyanovs lived here, there were about 640,000, 650,000 people living in this house, more or less. Our city ranked number 45 in population. It was a noble city, they called it the noble of the Volga, because the nobles of the oldest lineage lived here. And in terms of their number, our city had more nobles than any other town.
Here you have a panoramic view of what Ulyanovsk looked like, full of churches. Lenin was baptized here. The thing is, in the 30s, they destroyed all the churches.
According to what the guy just said, this is the house where Lenin was born, which you can still see today.
Although the family grew, they later moved to this one and then to this one,
where I am now, and this is where they lived for 4.5 years, until they moved to another house, since this one was close to the jail, the prison.
They moved quite a lot throughout their lives because the family members kept growing. And then finally they bought a house on Moskovskaya Street, but all of this was rented.
The guide says there was a big housing problem. There was a lack of housing because there was a huge fire that burned down all the houses on the main street.
The memory of Elena Nikolaevna is still alive. There weren't 50 of the best and bravest carpenters, nothing changed.
And Vladimir used to sleep here, right?
Yes, yes.
And how did all this work? There was wood too.
Yes, the stove would open here. It doesn't open now, but it would open here and you would put the firewood in, but there must be little access to air here, right? Overall, all this would warm up.
In each room there was.
Yes.
Here you have the kitchen and the maid's room. The guide told us, which I didn't know, that the family had what we now call a housekeeper, who lived with them for 20 years and helped Maria Alexandra, the mother, with raising the children. And here you can see the difference between where they lived, the black staircase, as it's known, or the black entrance, which is where all the products came in, the wood, the coal, and the kitchen. Was this considered a wealthy family's house?
This is a house.
Middle class?
Yes, for the middle class, for the intelligentsia. Mainly they are apartments. For example, professors from the gymnasium also lived in these apartments. Intellectuals, maybe doctors.
Professors, civil servants.
Possibly, yes, doctors, professors,
Civil servants.
Civil servants, yes.
I know that during the Soviet era, in the educational system, they studied more about the history of Lenin, right?
Yes, no children know less about Lenin, about his history. But now people are already adults, and after the 90s, they have come to visit the museum. Now, in the museum, of course, it's not like it was in Soviet times either.
More people used to come during Soviet times.
In Soviet times, there were thousands of people, one group after another. The flow of people never stopped.
We've come now to eat something at a typical place, a daily menu. I'll show you what I ordered, a kroska with kvass and kvass to drink. Normally I have kroska with kefir, which is a dairy product, but they also make it with kvass. Here it is, a cold vegetable soup with radish, cucumber, dill, and even, I don't know if chives too. To you, to your health.
Here you go, Pelmeni.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your meal.
And here you have the dumplings filled with beef, something that Lenin would surely eat.
beef dumplings, okroshka, kvass, 475 rubles.
I've just entered the childhood reserve of Vladimir Lenin. The streets where he grew up until he was 16 are kept somewhat as they would have looked back then, with wooden houses, like these little wooden houses. You can see here the types of window frames that were very typical of the time, beautiful, which were usually painted in colors or with carvings. And here is the museum house and its entrance. But that one over there is the house where the Ulyanovs lived, the one they bought, and it says so right there. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov Lenin lived here from 1878 to 1887 until they left for Kazan after being singled out. Well, after his father's death in 86 and his brother's execution in 87, they didn't want to come back here. Maria Alexandrovna took them all to Kazan, where he would later study.
I'm done with the mission in Ulyanovsk for today, and I'm heading back to Kazan, and we're going to set course for Yekaterinburg.
After his brother's execution, the family moved to Kazan, where Vladimir was later picked up by police. Tsarist, accused of political agitation, was sentenced in 1895 to 3 years exile in Shushenskoye, Krasnoyarsk, Siberia. After serving his sentence, he realized continuing his revolutionary activity in Russia was impossible and chose exile for the next 17 years. He lived in cities like London, Munich, Paris, and Zurich, and spent time editing Iskra, a newspaper for Russian socialist emigrants. Around 1901, he changed his name from Vladimir Ulyanov to Vladimir Lenin. Soon after, in 1903, he became prominent in the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party and emerged as leader of the Bolshevik faction. For nearly 20 years in exile, he survived on money his mother sent him, who in turn got the money from the income from land rentals and her widow's pension. His moment finally arrived in 1917 after missing the February Revolution that led to Tsar Nikolai Bandakirana's abdication, as he was trapped in Switzerland. The German Empire, Russia's World War I enemy, sent him and 30 other Bolsheviks back to Russia. It was in the sealed train, which crossed enemy territory and took them to the Finland station in Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, and its goal was to destabilize the Russian Empire and get it out of the war. By October of that same year, with Lenin already in Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution took place, which started the Civil War. A fierce conflict that would lead Russian society to exhaustion in the coming years. Back at Kazan II station, after 3.5 hours of travel from Ulyanovsk, I have returned once again to the Republic of Tatarstan, but I am heading to Yekaterinburg. I have 15.5 hours ahead on the Platzkart train. My dear Platzkart, it's a historic milestone for the channel. It's my first time crossing the Urals by train and visiting Yekaterinburg. So let's go. Hello. What do you have for takeout? Do you have empanadas?
We have baked goods and main courses. What would you like?
Yes, baked goods for takeout.
Take a bag then.
Yes, that's fine, thank you. I'm going to take something to eat for the trip, which is 15.5 hours, as I said, and I think it doesn't have a dining car. I hope it has a shower, but I really doubt it. Look, here you have the typical samsas, if I'm not mistaken. Is this meat? This is meat, right? Are they all meat?
Yes.
Very well. A pickled cucumber salad, don't forget it. Can it be to go as well?
Yes.
Very well. The chicken fillet as well.
To go?
Yes, to go. With buckwheat to go. Everything to go.
315 rubles.
Well, that's it. Chicken, samsa, buckwheat, and the unbeatable pickled cucumber. €3.15. A bargain. Here it is, the train I'm going to take. Now I'll go see my car.
Excuse me, where is car 27?
Look how they're preparing the beds in the Lux class, which are 2 seats per compartment. Well, 2 beds. There's coupe with 4, and Platzkart, where everyone is together. That's the coupe. And again, a huge train. I got car 27, oh my. Here, trains in Russia are gigantic. 26, and the next one is mine. Here is where the Platzkart start. Good morning. From the other side of the Urals, there's not much left to reach Yekaterinburg. Yesterday I fell asleep right away, but you can see the little I recorded before sleeping and my impressions. It's a Platzkart. A very old carriage. You can tell by everything. The furniture, the bathroom. Also, as soon as you walk in, it was filled with that characteristic human smell you usually find in these carriages. There were even dogs, those little ones. I think they're Yorkshire Terriers. That's the first time I've seen that. Usually they don't allow pets. And that's it. The lady in charge of the carriage worked hard to clean the entire carriage because the floor was sticky. I don't know why. It was already sticky when I got in, but she scrubbed it well and fixed it. And you can tell these are more rugged trains. Russian trains still amaze me, because this train left from Novorossiysk, which is practically next to Crimea, and it goes all the way to the heart of Siberia, practically to a city I can't recall. It always fascinates me. It's a 3.5-day trip. Goodbye. That's it, just arrived in Yekaterinburg. Historic milestone for the channel. For the first time, I've crossed the Urals. I've never been in these lands before. You can immediately feel the change in temperature. Yesterday, I was walking around in a t-shirt in Kazan and Ulyanovsk. Seems like rain is coming and it's chilly. And the first thing I have to do now is go to the hotel, freshen up a bit, because I'm already in caveman mode. And then take a little walk around the city to see what Yekaterinburg is like. There it is, written at the main station entrance. Europe, Asia, and Yekaterinburg in the center. This is what the little square at Yekaterinburg station looks like. Nearly 2 million people live in this city. Look here, at the entrance to the station, practically in this little square, we have a monument dedicated to the heroes of the Great Patriotic War. There you can read, "To the heroes of the Great Patriotic War, from 1941 to 1945. To the soldiers of the Volunteer Tank Regiment and to the workers of Sverdlovsk Oblast." And here below it says that the soil where the blood of the tankers was spilled is kept here. From the Urals, from the volunteers who fought in the cities of Orlon, Elbov, Prague and Berlin. Many of the factories, in the middle of the conflict, when they saw the Germans advancing, were moved behind the Urals, precisely to these places, and Yekaterinburg played a fundamental role. That's why there are monuments commemorating the feats of local workers and volunteers. And what's life like here? Did you see it in Moscow compared to Moscow?
Well, Moscow isn't Russia, it's another country.
Yekaterinburg is in Russia.
This is Russia. I don't know. I've also been to Moscow many times. I would say it's a good city, a very good one. It's the one I like the most out of all the cities. Of course, there are things they do well, but I wouldn't live here.
Everything is very fast.
Muroveinik,
yes.
I don't live in the city, I live in the village.
Aha, I get it now. And there's nature here. The Ural is beautiful.
Yes, the Urals are very beautiful. The mountains, Brunissa. It's beautiful nature, yes.
They told me you have to be careful with hooligans. Is that true here? Are there a lot of hooligans?
Yes, like everywhere in the world. Oh my God, I wouldn't say that's the case. There's nothing special here.
It's near here where the Romanov family died.
We just passed by there.
I see. And what do people think about the Romanov family being murdered?
So that's how it is here. First murdered, then beatified years later. I call them saints.
Yes, that's why.
At first, the Tsar was bad.
Exactly. That's what I meant. First, the king was bad, and now he's a saint.
Now he's a saint.
Yes, I understand that people think it wasn't necessary to get rid of them, right?
Well, something like that. Now they judge those who have done it.
Thank you very much. This is my hotel. In front of the Soviet circus, currently under repair, the house of the circus artists. Surely a lot of circus artists would stay here. They say they're fixing it up and the entrance is over there. Let's see what the hotel is like. Here it is. This is what the room looks like where the artists used to stay and where they still stay. They say some from the circus still do. It's not bad for 18 euros. You have your bed, your small television, a table to work at. The bathroom and shower are separate and shared with 3 or 4 similar rooms. Time to freshen up and keep exploring Yekaterinburg. I already have change for the slot machines. It works with tokens. The Yekaterinburg metro. Here you have it. Only with modern turnstiles. But still with the old system. I'm going to take a walk now through the Yekaterinburg metro. It has a metro. It's just one line, 9 stations. There you have it. First stop, Romanovs station. It's the acronym for the Ural machinery plant, the largest machinery factory in all of Europe during the Soviet Union era. And it was an economic lifeline for the city. Can you see the decoration, the reliefs, specifically, of the workers from these factories, which is a huge area located right next to the station. It also played an important role in World War I. You can also see reliefs of workers assembling tanks. Many of the factories were moved to the Urals, as I said before, and after the war, they stayed here and continued to operate here. The real Russia, as the taxi driver said. Look, the trolleybus is still running here, through the streets of Yekaterinburg. And the grandmothers selling their flowers and vegetables here. It doesn't matter if it rains, you have to make some extra money. Apples I see over there, garlic. Right now I'm walking along the edge of the factory. You can't imagine how huge it is. If you look at it on the map, it's practically a city. Here you can see, I don't even know, pipes that I don't know what they carry, and there in the background chimneys, which is the first part you can see from here of the Uralmash factory. And today it's still a factory that remains economically important for the city. In the past, all these surrounding neighborhoods, or most of them, housed the workers from here. They expanded as the company grew. Today, it focuses on heavy industry and also constructs nuclear reactors. Of course, now it's private. There you have it. Uralmash Zavod, Slavim Cheloveka Truda, founded in 1933, 90 years. Look at those huge apartment buildings, vertical concrete towers. They're building more over there. These are the new buildings you can see all across Russia, in Moscow. Now they're everywhere, and I see that here in Yekaterinburg too. Massive buildings. There are more behind these. Maybe in one block 5,000 families can fit, 10,000. Even that's an exaggeration. And here you have it. Compared to what was built before, what a difference. Another reason why Yekaterinburg is known is because it's the place where the Romanov dynasty came to an end. Here, on July 17, 1918, almost a year after the Tsar's crown was overthrown following the revolution, a firing squad ended the lives of the Romanovs. of the Tsar and the Tsarina, their descendants, and their servants. In the basement of the Ipatiev house, a house that was demolished on the 60th anniversary of the revolution, and that, to this day, where that house once stood, this church has been built, the Church on the Blood, which was built between 2000 and 2003. Nikolai II inherited a nation in crisis, a giant with feet of clay, and couldn't manage the social misery despite his efforts. The constant attacks from his enemies and the defeats on the battlefield. After his February 1917 abdication, the royal family was put under house arrest. The House of Windsor in England refused their political asylum, despite the royal blood ties. King George V and Tsar Nikolai Rinpoche were cousins because their mothers, both Danish princesses, were sisters. Still, this didn't help them leave the country. Their arrest grew harsher when the October Revolution and Civil War began. They went from St. Petersburg to Tobolsk in Siberia, and finally to Yekaterinburg, where they were murdered in cold blood by a Bolshevik firing squad, out of fear that the White Army, supporters of the Tsars, would rescue them alive. Early on July 17, 1918, they were led to the Ipatiev house basement under the guise of a photo session. There, the main executioner, Yakov Yurovsky, unexpectedly announced to them that they were about to be shot by order of the Ural Regional Soviet. While there are no physical orders from Lenin or Sverdlov, some historians believe it couldn't have happened without their knowledge or approval. After their execution, the bodies of the 2 Tsars, their 5 children, and 4 servants were burned and buried in small mass graves outside the city, so that no one could recognize them. Their bodies would be found in 1979, but it was kept secret until the fall of the Soviet Union to avoid controversy. They were not publicly buried until 1998. The Romanov dynasty ended after 300 years, beginning with Mikhail Romanov's rise to the throne in 1613, which started Russia's era as a global power. In this way, 70 years of the Soviet era began. Here you have the flag of the Russian Empire, and all the photos of those murdered on July 17, 1918. The canonization of the Romanovs was carried out in the year 2000. You can see that throughout Russia, in most churches nowadays, they have some icon with the Romanov family. What does Russian society think about this? The revolution happened and they were killed. However, as time went by, there is repentance.
They were killed here, they suffered here. Of course we feel sorry.
To finish the video, this tour of Yekaterinburg, I wanted to come to the statue, to the monument, or rather to Yeltsin, the first president of the Russian Federation, who had to face the madmen. The 90s, times of economic depression, of bandits, of plundering of natural resources, also by companies and oligarchs. Today you can see this monument here, in the middle of the financial center of Yekaterinburg, with several of these modern glass skyscrapers. I'll end the video here, and tomorrow I'll continue the adventure to explore these Russian hinge territories between Europe and Asia.